You press the power button. The screen lights up. 30 seconds later, you are staring at your desktop. Icons, a taskbar, a wallpaper. Everything looks simple. It is not simple. Between the moment you pressed that button and the moment your desktop appeared, your computer loaded somewhere between 150 and 300 separate processes. Background services, system daemons, drivers, scheduled tasks, telemetry agents, update checkers, all running before you opened a single app. Most people never think about what any of this software actually does. You open a browser, you open a file, you close the laptop. That is the entire relationship. Every core piece of software on your computer, what it does, why it is there, and what alternatives exist. Layer by layer. The kernel. The kernel is the first real piece of software that runs. It sits between your hardware and everything else. Every app, every service, every process on your computer talks to the kernel to get anything done. When a program wants to save a file, it does not talk to your SSD directly, it asks the kernel. When a program wants to send data over Wi-Fi, it does not talk to your network card directly, it asks the kernel. The kernel is the gatekeeper for every hardware interaction on the machine. On Windows, the kernel is called the NT kernel. It's a hybrid kernel that combines components from Mach and BSD. On Linux, the kernel is simply called Linux. It's the one piece of software that Linus Torvalds originally wrote in 1991. Expert aside, there are two major kernel designs. A monolithic kernel puts drivers, file systems, and core services all inside the kernel itself. Linux does this. A microkernel keeps the kernel as small as possible and runs drivers and services in user space. Mach does this. Windows and macOS both use hybrid approaches, combining elements of both designs. The design affects stability, performance, and how crashes propagate through the system. You never interact with the kernel directly, but every single thing you do on your computer passes through it. The shell. The shell is the layer you actually see. It's the graphical interface that translates your clicks and keystrokes into commands the kernel can understand. On Windows, the shell is called Explorer, not the web browser Internet Explorer. That's a different program. Explorer is the desktop, the taskbar, the start menu, the file manager. It's all one application. If you open Task Manager and end the Explorer process, your entire desktop disappears. The wallpaper, the taskbar, the icons, all gone. The computer is still running, the kernel is still there, but the shell is gone and you have no visual way to interact with the machine. On macOS, the shell is split into two pieces. The Finder handles file management and desktop icons. The dock provides the application launcher at the bottom of the screen. Together, they serve the same role as Explorer on Windows, but they are separate processes. On Linux, the shell is completely replaceable. The most common graphical shells are called desktop environments: GNOME, KDE Plasma, XFCE, Cinnamon. Each one gives you a completely different visual experience, different taskbar behavior, different file manager, different settings layout. Same kernel underneath, completely different interface on top. Expert aside, there's also the command line shell, which is a text-based interface. On Windows, this is CMD or PowerShell. On macOS and Linux, it's typically Bash or Z shell. The command line shell lets you interact with the kernel and the file system using typed commands instead of clicking. Every operating system has one. Most users never open it. The file system. Your files have to live somewhere. The file system is the software layer that organizes data on your storage drive. It decides how files are named, where they are stored, how permissions work, and how deleted files are handled. On Windows, the default file system is NTFS, New Technology File System. It's been the standard since Windows NT, and it supports features like file permissions, encryption, compression, and journaling. Journaling means the file system keeps a log of changes before writing them, so if the power goes out mid-write, the drive can recover without corrupting your data. On macOS, the current file system is APFS, Apple File System. It replaced HFS Plus in 2017. APFS is optimized for flash storage and supports native encryption, snapshots, and space sharing between volumes. On Linux, the most common file system is ext4, Fourth Extended File System. It's stable, well-tested, and handles everything from tiny embedded devices to massive servers. Linux also supports BTRFS, which adds features like snapshots and built-in checksumming to detect data corruption. The file system is invisible to most users. You see folders and files, but underneath, the file system is translating that visual hierarchy into physical locations on your SSD or hard drive. The web browser. The web browser is the most used application on any modern computer. For most people, it is the only app that stays open all day. But a browser is not a simple program. A modern web browser is essentially a miniature operating system running inside your operating system. Every browser has a rendering engine that converts HTML, CSS, and JavaScript into the visual pages you see. Chrome and Edge both use a rendering engine called Blink. Safari uses an engine called WebKit. Firefox uses an engine called Gecko. These three engines power virtually every browser in existence. Brave, Vivaldi, Opera, Arc, they all use Blink under the hood. The interface is different, but the rendering is the same. Each tab runs in its own isolated process. This is called sandboxing. If one tab crashes, it should not take down the other tabs. This isolation also acts as a security boundary. A malicious website in one tab should not be able to access the data in another tab. The trade-off is memory. Every tab is a separate process, and every process consumes RAM. This is why Chrome is notorious for using 4, 6, 8 gigabytes of RAM with enough tabs open. It is not a bug, it is the cost of sandboxing. Expert aside, Firefox is the only major browser that does not use Google's Blink engine. This matters because it means Firefox is the only independent check on Google's ability to shape web standards. If Firefox disappears, Google controls how the web renders for essentially every user on the planet. Whether you use Firefox or not, its existence keeps the web open. Alternatives worth knowing about: Firefox for engine independence, Brave for built-in ad blocking at the engine level, LibreWolf for a hardened Firefox fork with telemetry stripped out. The default browser on your machine, whether it is Edge or Safari, is functional, but understanding what engine it uses tells you who controls how you see the web. Background services. Open Task Manager on Windows or Activity Monitor on macOS. Count the processes. On a clean Windows install with nothing open, you will see between 150 and 250 processes running. On macOS, the number is similar. These are background services, programs that run without a visible window, performing tasks the operating system needs to function. Some of them are essential. The print spooler manages print jobs. The audio service handles sound output. The networking service manages your Wi-Fi and Ethernet connections. The update service checks for operating system patches. Some of them are less essential. Telemetry services collect usage data and send it back to Microsoft or Apple. Indexing services scan your files to build a search database. Cortana or Siri-related services run even if you have never used either assistant. OneDrive or iCloud sync agents run whether or not you use cloud storage. On Windows, these services are managed through the Services panel. On macOS, they are called launch daemons and launch agents. On Linux, the most common service manager is systemd. Expert aside, here's a useful test. Open Task Manager on Windows, sort by memory usage, and look at what's consuming the most. Typically, you will see Anti-Malware Service Executable, which is Windows Defender running real-time scanning. You will see Desktop Window Manager, which handles all visual compositing. You will see Service Host Processes, each one hosting multiple Windows services grouped together. None of these are apps you opened. They are the operating system maintaining itself. Drivers. A driver is software that tells the kernel how to communicate with a specific piece of hardware. Your GPU needs a driver, your audio chip needs a driver, your Wi-Fi card needs a driver, your keyboard, your mouse, your monitor, your printer. Every piece of hardware connected to your computer has a driver. Without the correct driver, the kernel does not know how to talk to the hardware. Your GPU might display a picture, but at the wrong resolution with no acceleration. Your audio might not work at all. Your Wi-Fi card might not even appear as available. On Windows, drivers are typically provided by the hardware manufacturer, NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, Realtek. Windows Update can install basic drivers automatically, but for full functionality, especially for GPUs, you usually need the manufacturer's driver package. On macOS, Apple controls both the hardware and the software, so drivers are built into the operating system. You rarely think about drivers on a Mac because Apple handles the entire stack. On Linux, most drivers are included directly in the kernel. Open-source drivers for network cards, audio chips, storage controllers, and basic graphics are built in. The exception is NVIDIA. NVIDIA does not contribute open-source drivers to the Linux kernel, so Linux users have to install proprietary NVIDIA drivers separately. This has been one of the longest-running friction points in the Linux ecosystem. System utilities. Every operating system ships with a set of built-in tools that most users either ignore or do not know exist. Task Manager on Windows shows running processes, CPU usage, memory usage, disk activity, and network traffic. Its equivalent on macOS is Activity Monitor. On Linux, the command line tool htop, or the Graphical System Monitor, serves the same purpose. This is the single most useful diagnostic tool on any computer. Disk management on Windows lets you partition drives, file management, process control, network diagnostics, software installation. Everything the graphical interface does, the terminal can do faster and with more precision. Expert aside, PowerShell on Windows is dramatically more powerful than the old CMD prompt. It is a full scripting language that can interact with the Windows registry, manage services, configure networking, and automate almost any administrative task. Most Windows users never open it, but system administrators live in it. If you are on Windows and you have never opened PowerShell, default apps. Every operating system ships with a set of pre-installed applications: text editors, calculators, media players, image viewers. These are the apps that most people either use without thinking or completely ignore. Paint for basic image editing and the snipping tool for screenshots. Windows also bundles OneDrive for cloud storage, Microsoft Edge as the default browser, and the Microsoft Store as the app marketplace. On macOS, you get TextEdit, Calculator, Preview for images and PDFs, QuickTime for video, Photos for image management, and a suite of iWork apps, including Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. macOS also includes GarageBand for audio production and iMovie for video editing. Apple bundles significantly more creative software out of the box than Windows does. On Linux, the default apps depend entirely on the distribution and desktop environment. Ubuntu with GNOME ships with Files, Text Editor, Calculator, Image Viewer, and the Firefox browser. Linux Mint ships with similar defaults but adds Time Shift for system backups. Most Linux distributions include LibreOffice, a full Office suite, out of the box. Windows does not include a free Office suite at all. The quality of default apps varies dramatically. macOS Preview, as an example, is one of the most underrated pieces of software on any platform. It opens PDFs, images, and can annotate, sign, crop, and resize without installing anything else. The Windows equivalent, Photos, is widely considered slower and less capable. On the other hand, Windows Calculator has a programmer mode, a graphing mode, and unit conversion that most people never discover. Security software. Windows ships with Windows Security, which includes Windows Defender for real-time antivirus protection, a firewall, and device security features. Defender runs as a background service called Anti-Malware Service Executable, and it is always active. In independent testing, Defender consistently scores in the top tier for detection rates. Third-party antivirus is no longer necessary for most Windows users. macOS includes XProtect, which is Apple's built-in malware detection system. It runs silently in the background and updates its definitions automatically. macOS also includes Gatekeeper, which verifies that apps are signed by identified developers before allowing them to run. And there's the App Sandbox, which restricts what apps downloaded from the Mac App Store can access on your system. Linux typically does not ship with antivirus software because the threat model is different. Linux's permission system, where programs run with the user's privileges and not the system's by default, limits the damage a malicious program could do. ClamAV exists as an open-source antivirus for Linux, but it is more commonly used to scan files being served to Windows machines than to protect the Linux system itself. What you are actually running. The kernel manages hardware, the drivers teach the kernel how to talk to each device, the file system organizes your data on the drive, the shell gives you a visual interface, background services maintain the system without your input, system utilities give you diagnostic and management tools, default apps provide basic functionality out of the box, security software monitors for threats. This entire stack is running every second your computer is powered on. You interact with maybe 5% of it directly. Loading 200 processes, mounting file systems, initializing drivers, starting services, authenticating your user session, and rendering the shell. All so you can open a browser and check your email. Subscribe. Sudo Bit Logic is just getting started.